The rain tapped steadily against the windows of Detective Harper's small office in the heart of the city, the rhythmic sound a comforting reminder of the mundanity of the world outside. It was the kind of night that begged for a warm drink and a quiet reflection on a job well done. Harper had been looking forward to that very thing, a glass of whiskey and some time to unwind after the latest string of cases he'd solved. But then the phone rang. It wasn't the first call of the night, but there was something about this one, a persistent, almost eerie ring that seemed to cut through the stillness of the room. Harper sighed, rubbing the back of his neck as he reached for the receiver. "Detective Harper," he answered, trying to sound as professional as possible despite the annoyance creeping into his voice. There was a brief silence on the other end, followed by a shaky breath. A woman, terrified. "Please help me," she said, her voice barely audible, but there was no mistaking the urgency. "He's after me. I don't know where I am." Harper's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't a random call. It was different. The voice sounded vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place it. "Who's after you?" he asked, sitting up straighter in his chair. "Where are you? What's going on?" The line crackled, as if the words were struggling to get through. I can't. He's close. Too close." Her voice broke off in a muffled cry. There was a loud noise, a sharp sound, like a door slamming. Footsteps, rapid, heavy, frantic. Harper's pulse quickened. "Who is it? Who's after you?" There was a pause, followed by a low, harsh whisper. "I can't." The signal's gone. And then the line went dead. Harper blinked at the receiver in his hand, the silence in his office stretching out, unnerving. He held the phone to his ear for a few seconds longer, hoping to hear something, anything, but nothing came through. He slowly set the receiver down and leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. The call had come in from an unknown number, and though he'd been able to hear most of it, something didn't sit right. The words, "the signal's gone," echoed in his mind. It wasn't the first time a frantic call had come in, but this one was different. The terror in her voice, the urgency, and the strange mention of a signal. It was a detail that didn't belong. What did she mean? A signal? Harper had dealt with his fair share of cryptic calls, but this felt like something far beyond the usual. He couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't a random case. That voice, he had heard it before. Lena Davenport. The thought hit him like a cold wave. Lena Davenport was a local journalist known for her hard-hitting investigative work. A couple of months ago, she'd been working on a piece about missing persons in the city, people who seemed to vanish without a trace. Harper hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now it clicked. Had Lena called him? Or had someone else been using her voice? And why mention the signal? Without wasting another moment, Harper grabbed his coat and keys. His gut was telling him to act quickly before it was too late. He needed to track Lena down. The rain hadn't let up by the time Harper arrived at the police station. He pulled his coat tighter around him, the dampness already seeping through the fabric, and made his way past the cluttered desks of officers working through stacks of paperwork. He had a place to start, Lena Davenport's missing person report. Harper had barely settled into his chair in the corner when Detective Owens walked over with the file in his hands. Owens was an older cop, reliable and no-nonsense, but it was clear something weighed on him as he handed the folder over. "You're looking into Davenport?" Owens asked, eyebrows furrowing as Harper opened the file. "I got a call last night," Harper said quietly, flipping through the pages. A woman's voice. "I think it's her." Owens's brow twitched. "Davenport? She's been missing for 3 days. You think she's still alive?" "I don't know, but I think she made that call." She was investigating something that got her into trouble. Harper's eyes skimmed through the details of the report. Lena Davenport, 32, freelance journalist, last seen leaving a bar in the West End at midnight on a Thursday. Witnesses recalled her talking to a man before disappearing into the night. There was a note in the file that she'd been working on a series of stories about a string of disappearances in the city, people vanishing without a trace, no evidence, no leads. There was something about Lena's case that had bugged him from the start. Her disappearance wasn't like the others. The file indicated no forced entry at her apartment, no signs of struggle, and her personal effects had been left behind. No robbery, no forced motive. Harper turned the page. There was a list of possible connections, but one name stuck out. Jacob Wolf, a low-level enforcer with ties to the city's criminal underground, the kind of man who could make people disappear without a second thought. The report mentioned that Lena had been tracking Wolf for the last few weeks. She'd been asking around, digging into his connections. Someone must have noticed. The man she was seen with, Wolf? Harper asked Owens. Yeah, he's no saint. Wolf's a thug, does a lot of muscle work for the local crime families. He's not someone you cross lightly. Some say he's got ties to a group that works on a level deeper than the street. The rumors about him, electronic warfare, signal interference, all that stuff, it's too damn weird. But you know how it is. Nothing concrete. Harper's stomach tightened. The mention of signal interference felt like a bizarre coincidence. Could it be related to the call from last night? Wolf's been around town for a few years, Owens continued. I'd start there if I were you. I will, Harper said, closing the file. Thanks, Owens. The detective left him alone with his thoughts, and Harper stood, glancing out the window at the rain-soaked streets. He had a new lead now, but the sense of unease only grew stronger. He had to find Lena, or at the very least, find out what had happened to her. Wolf was his next stop, but there was more to this story than he could see. The mention of signal interference, the odd nature of her disappearance, it all felt too neatly connected, as if someone or something had orchestrated it all. But who? And why? Harper grabbed his coat and stepped out into the stormy night, the weight of the city pressing down on him. As he made his way to the car, he couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was lurking just beyond his reach. Harper's car slid through the wet streets of the city, the headlights cutting through the thick rain like twin beacons of hope in a sea of darkness. The lead he had on Jacob Wolf wasn't much, just a name and a few rumors, but it was the only lead he had. He needed to follow it, no matter how messy things got. He arrived at the location listed in Wolf's file, a run-down apartment building on the edge of town, nestled between a few abandoned warehouses. The neighborhood wasn't exactly a hub for upscale living. Flickering streetlights barely illuminated the cracked pavement, casting long, unnatural shadows along the sidewalks. Harper parked a block away, scanning the street. The building loomed ahead, windows dark and empty. There was no sign of Wolf, but Harper had a gut feeling that if he waited long enough, the man would show up. He was the type to stay out of sight until it was time to make his move. Harper made his way toward the building, stepping carefully through the puddles and mud that littered the ground. The cold wind cut through his coat, but he ignored the chill. His focus was sharp. He knew he was getting closer to something big, something dangerous. Lena's investigation had put her in harm's way, and now it had pulled him in too. The lobby of the building was dimly lit, the stale air heavy with the smell of mildew and decay. Harper scanned the names on the directory and found Wolf's, apartment 6B. He pressed the buzzer, and after a moment, the sound of shuffling came from inside, followed by the buzz of the lock disengaging. The door creaked open just a crack. A pair of eyes appeared through the sliver of space, sharp and calculating. "What do you want?" the voice asked, gravelly and unwelcoming. "I'm looking for Jacob Wolf," Harper said, his tone casual but firm. "I need to ask him some questions about a missing person, a journalist, Lena Davenport." There was a pause, followed by a low chuckle. "You're a long way from home, Detective. You really think I'm going to talk to you about that?" Harper's fingers tightened around the doorframe. "You might want to reconsider. I can make your life very uncomfortable, Wolf." The door opened wider, and Wolf stepped into view. He was taller than Harper expected, his broad shoulders filling the doorway. A scar ran down the side of his face, a permanent reminder of his violent past. His eyes were dark, cold, but Harper didn't flinch. "I don't know anything about Lena Davenport," Wolf said, his voice casual, almost too casual. He stepped aside, allowing Harper to enter the apartment. The place was sparsely furnished. Just a worn-out couch, a coffee table, and a few empty beer bottles scattered around. The air was thick with the scent of stale smoke. Harper took a step inside, scanning the room. She was digging into something dangerous. "I think it's got your name written all over it." Wolf leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "You've got no idea what you're dealing with. Lena bit off more than she could chew. She should have stayed out of it." "What is it?" Harper asked, his voice steady. "What were you involved in? Missing people? People who just disappear?" Wolf didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled, just a thin, menacing grin. "You think this is just about missing people? It's bigger than that. The signal's bigger than that." Harper froze. The word signal had come up again, exactly like the woman had said during the phone call. His mind raced as he tried to piece the fragments of information together. "What the hell are you talking about?" Harper pressed, his patience thinning. Wolf's grin faded, and his eyes narrowed. "You're in over your head, Detective. There's a lot more going on here than just a missing journalist. Lena. She was about to uncover something she shouldn't have." "And what's that?" Before Wolf could answer, the apartment door slammed open. A tall man stepped inside, his expression grim. He was dressed in all black, his face hidden in shadow. "You're not supposed to be here," the man said, his voice low and threatening. Wolf's posture shifted, the casual bravado melting away as he looked at the man. "I didn't expect you this soon." Harper tensed, reaching for his gun. "Who the hell are you?" The man didn't answer. Instead, he lunged at Harper, knocking him back against the wall with a force that knocked the wind out of him. Harper's gun clattered to the floor as he struggled to regain his footing. The tall man's grip tightened around his throat, cutting off his air supply. Harper's mind raced. He had no idea who this person was, but he wasn't about to go down without a fight. With a burst of strength, Harper managed to break free, kicking the man's shin and forcing him to stagger backward. Wolf stepped in, trying to restrain the attacker, but Harper wasn't done yet. He scrambled for his gun, his fingers grazing it just as the man lunged again. This time, Harper was ready. He fired once, the shot ringing out in the small apartment. The man dropped to the ground, a grunt of pain escaping his lips. Wolf's eyes widened in shock as he watched his companion fall, but there was no time to celebrate. Harper's mind was already on the next move. "Who the hell was that?" Harper demanded, his gun still raised at Wolf. Wolf didn't answer right away. He was staring down at the fallen man, his face a mixture of shock and something else. Fear, perhaps. But he quickly regained his composure, his lips curling into a tight smile. "I told you, Detective," Wolf said slowly. "You're in over your head." The apartment was eerily quiet now. The man who had attacked Harper lay unconscious on the floor, a growing pool of blood spreading beneath him. Wolf stood across the room, his expression unreadable. For a moment, neither man moved. Harper kept his gun trained on Wolf, aware that every moment could turn into a confrontation, but Wolf didn't seem inclined to attack again. Instead, he seemed resigned. "You really don't get it, do you?" Wolf's voice was low, almost disappointed, as he wiped the blood from his lip. "This isn't just some missing person case. It's much bigger than that." Harper didn't lower his gun. "What's bigger than a missing person? People vanishing without a trace? The signal you keep talking about?" Wolf stepped closer to the door, looking over his shoulder as if considering his options. He made no move to escape, but Harper could see the calculation in his eyes. "The signal is everything," Wolf continued, his voice suddenly quieter, almost reverential. "It controls everything. It manipulates perception, controls minds, erases people from existence. Wolf hesitated, glancing down at the man on the floor, then back at Harper. "They've been using it for years. Lena, she was onto something big." Harper's mind raced. What the hell was Wolf talking about? He hadn't heard anything like this before, but the mention of a signal rang a bell. It was too similar to what the woman on the phone had said, and now Wolf was confirming it. "Who is they?" Harper pressed, his gun still steady in his hand. "Who's pulling the strings here?" Wolf's gaze darted toward the window, and Harper followed his line of sight. For a moment, the silence between them stretched out, thick with tension. Then Wolf sighed, as if accepting the inevitable. "The people behind this, they control more than just the signal," he muttered, almost as if he were talking to himself. "They've created something, a device, a system, that alters reality itself, not in the way you think, but in the way that matters. They can erase people, rewrite their existence, and they've been doing it for years." Harper's pulse quickened. "What are you saying? You're talking about a technology that can change reality." Wolf looked back at Harper, his face hardening. "Exactly. It's all tied into the network, the signal. It's not just radio frequencies. It's a manipulation of digital and human consciousness. People vanish, their memories erased, their identities wiped out, and it's all controlled through a massive grid." Harper's brain was working overtime, trying to process what he was hearing. "And Lena? Was she trying to expose this?" Wolf's lip curled in a bitter smile. "She was getting too close. She started piecing it together. The missing people. What's really happening to them? She'd connected the dots between the disappearances and this network, but she didn't know the half of it." A sudden noise at the door caught their attention. Harper's hand tightened on the gun. Someone else was here. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside, silhouetted against the dim light from the hallway. It was a woman, her features obscured by a dark hooded jacket, but Harper could see the glint of something metallic in her hand. "Wolf," she said, her voice cold. "I told you not to get involved." Wolf didn't react, his expression remaining unreadable. It's too late. Harper's already in. He knows too much. The woman's gaze turned to Harper, sharp and calculating. She didn't seem fazed by the gun he still held, her eyes focused on him with an unsettling calm. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," the woman said, her voice low. "The signal is not something you can just turn off. Once you're in, you're part of it. All of us are." Harper stepped back slightly, trying to reassess the situation. "Who are you?" he demanded. The woman didn't flinch. "My name is Ava, and I'm here to make sure you don't get any further." Before Harper could respond, She pulled something from her jacket, a small, sleek device that emitted a low, electronic hum. In an instant, Harper felt a strange pressure in his head, as if his thoughts were being jumbled, his vision blurring at the edges. His pulse quickened, and the room seemed to spin around him. "Stop it!" Harper shouted, trying to shake the dizzying sensation off, but it only worsened. His thoughts were muddled, his body sluggish, as if his mind was no longer entirely his own. Ava's expression didn't change as she activated the device. "You won't be able to stop it. None of you can. The signal's already inside your head." Wolf stepped forward, almost as if he were watching a show. "This is bigger than you, Harper. It's bigger than Lena. It's bigger than the city. There's nothing you can do." Harper fought against the overwhelming sensation, his fingers tightening around the grip of his gun, but everything felt distant, like he was moving underwater. He needed to fight back. He had to. But the device in Ava's hand was too powerful. His mind was clouded, his body unresponsive. "No one is getting out of this," Ava continued, her voice echoing through his fogged mind. "Not even you." Suddenly, the hum of the device stopped. The pressure in Harper's head lifted, and the world around him snapped back into focus. He gasped for breath, sweat dripping down his face. The woman and Wolf were still standing there, but something had changed. The room felt different now, empty, as if the air itself had shifted. Ava took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. "You're lucky you're still here. But it won't last. You're already a part of it." Harper didn't know what she meant, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to let her win. He wasn't going to let whatever this was control him. "I'll stop you," Harper spat, though his voice was shaky. "I'll find a way." Ava's lips curved into a cold, knowing smile. "You don't understand. It's already too late." Harper's mind was still spinning as the woman, Ava, stepped closer, her gaze icy and resolute. She had him on the ropes, no doubt about it. The device she'd used to cloud his thoughts, he couldn't explain it, but it was unlike anything he'd encountered. It was almost as if his very sense of reality had been manipulated, twisted into something unrecognizable. He gripped the edge of the nearby table, steadying himself, willing his pulse to slow. This wasn't over. Not yet. "You're not the first person to try and stop us, Detective," Ava said, her voice calm but filled with an undercurrent of menace. "But you will be the last if you don't walk away now. This goes deeper than you realize." Harper forced himself to look at her, his mind clearing bit by bit, though the remnants of the device's effect still lingered at the edges of his thoughts. He'd seen enough of the criminal underworld to know when someone was trying to intimidate him. Ava was good, but not good enough. "I'm not walking away," Harper said, his voice firming. "Not until I know what the hell's going on. You think you can just control people? Erase them from existence?" Ava's lips twisted into a thin, humorless smile. "That's exactly what we do. We control the narrative. We rewrite the story. The signal is our tool, a tool for reshaping reality itself." Wolf, still standing at the back of the room, watched with a detached expression. Harper could see the shift in his demeanor. There was no longer the same cocky bravado. Instead, he looked almost afraid. As the pressure lifted from Harper's mind, the room returned to its eerie calm. The tactical man who had disabled the device gave him a grim nod. "The signal is down for now, but it won't stay that way forever." Harper, panting and bruised, stood shakily, his thoughts racing. Ava, defeated, was on the floor, her cold demeanor now shattered. Wolf had disappeared into the shadows, his betrayal leaving Harper with a bitter taste in his mouth. "You may have won today," Ava hissed, her voice filled with venom. But the signal is everywhere. It's only a matter of time before it comes back. Harper didn't respond. He didn't need to. The battle was far from over, but at least, for now, he had a chance. A chance to fight back, to stop the shadowy network from rewriting the world. The tactical man turned to him. "You're with us now. We'll need all the help we can get to take them down." Harper nodded, his jaw clenched. "I'm in. Let's finish this." As they left the apartment, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that the real war was only just beginning. But he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.